Hi everyone, my name is Vivek. I'm the founder of Learn 3D Fashion platform. This tutorial is about understanding all the different tools that are there in Clo 3D. So one guide, simple guide, I think it will be finished in 10 to 15 minutes. So you will be knowing all the tools in Clo 3D. Second is, I would also say that don't learn tools, okay? See how the tools are used. So learning, doing your own projects, learning through those projects, the tools is a way much more better and effective exercise than just jumping into the tools, okay? It's needed because many of the people who have taken the course requested me to create something like this. So that's why I'm creating, okay? Great. Now, before we go through all the tools, let's first understand how Clo 3D is divided into different segments. So there are four segments that Clo is mostly divided into. So you can call it the 3D toolbar, in which you have all the tools in 3D, right? And these, the tools that are inside the 3D window, right? In the same way, you have 2D toolbar, all the tools on the right and in the uh, like inside the 2D pattern window. Then you have these five tabs: library, history, modular configurator, object browser, and property editor. And after that you have menu bar. So we'll look into we'll look into everything, okay? So this is like one stop solution for all the learning all the tools, right? So let's jump directly into Clo and let's start working. So first of all, I'm going to minimize all this, right? So we're just going to expand this tool one by one. So let's bring these files first, and I'm going to be sending you these files. So no worries, okay? You will be having these files with you so that when you work, so you can find it in the course directory or in the link below, something like that. Okay, so first tool is simulation tool. Everybody's know it, right? So it's a normal simulation. You can play this. The fitted simulation is a better way of experiencing your fabric. Okay, so it's a little bit slow, but it's a better way of simulating your fabrics. This fitting simulation basically also when you give different properties to your fabric, it works accordingly. Okay, so it's kind of connected with that. The second tool is a selection tool, right? Selection tool, you can select objects. Okay, you can select object, and whenever you select an object, you see this gizmo, right? You see this gizmo. This gizmo is controlled by preferences gizmo, and there are different kinds of gizmos here, right? I normally use world coordinate because world coordinates is very stable in terms of x, y, and z axis. So the x, y, and z axis remain constant even if you rotate and do anything, right? With screen coordinates, your x, y axis changes according to where you are watching it from. So sometimes it's not very productive. Okay, so I normally use world coordinate. Okay. After this, you have this brush tool, right? So what this brush tool does is you can brush like this and you can right click and you can see, you can create a pin, you can freeze it, you can solidify, you can strengthen it. So the brush tool basically helps you to apply all these property into a small segments, right? Wherever you can like quickly, like you can do this, right click and you can freeze this portion, right? Now this is completely. So in this way, you can like apply different properties to this. Second is a select mesh. Okay, so select mesh, basically if you select this, it helps you to pull your fabric out. Sometimes what happens in Clo is that when you are arranging your pattern are stuck somewhere, right? So suppose your pattern are stuck in this, like this. So what you can do is, if it's stuck inside the body, you can quickly pin this, right, like this, and you can just bring it out, right? So this is a better strategy for doing these pieces. Third tool you will see here is called select mesh, right? And select mesh is like basically lasso tool is like you can select the mesh with a lasso tool. That's all, nothing interesting. Pin box tool, right? So pin box is simple. You can pin something, right? It will be pinned in the air, right? And you can move it. So normally we use pin tool for draping purposes. You can select it again and delete it. After this, you have pin, right? So again, you can pin with lasso tool, right? So simple. Okay. Now let's look into this. Edit style line, scale style line, move style line, draw style lines. Okay, so this is sometimes it's a very important tool. But again, guys, look, because we use pattern making, okay? Pattern making is a very important aspect of Clo 3D, and you can't ignore pattern making while you are designing anything. So sometimes it is a good tool, sometimes it is not a good tool. Sometimes it's better that you directly work on the patterns, okay? So you can select this, you can draw this up, right? So what you are doing, you are changing the lines, okay? And you can play this, right? And this directly changes happens in 2D pattern. So sometimes it's really useful because when you edit things on 2D window, you're not able to understand, right? Or you're not able to see how this is going to impact. But it really becomes very helpful once you understand that you can directly do it in a 3D pattern, right? So I'm doing just going to Control Z. Second, again, is the scale style line, right? So you can select this style like lines, and then you can scale it up, right? So all these tools, these are basically just to edit directly in 3D instead of 2D, okay? So all these style lines, you'll move style line, draw style lines, right? So if you suppose you said draw style line, so you can click here, you can double click here. So now you have created this line, right? So it's the pattern is separated from it. Let me do a Control Z again. So all these tools, they help you to control your lines, okay? Now let's go to the next tool. Next tool is this edit. So this is for stitching, right? You can delete a stitch, right? You can delete a stitch and you can quickly stitch this with segment sewing, right? Segment is very simple. It stitch the segments with segments, right? You can play this. And then you have segment M to N, right? M to N works really in a like, so suppose let's see, you have two segments, right? Okay, how? Let's bring some other stuff. Let's bring this file. Okay, so this is a file, right? And suppose you have this, and there is one more fabric, right? And the way this is done is I'm going to quickly cut this, right? And I'm also, let's first delete this, select this line, right click and cut. Okay, now let's control and see this. Let's make a copy. Okay. Now, you can use this, right? And by the way, whenever you use a tool, so you see it's written here, right? What it's trying to do. Select a segment to begin with M sewing. So you have selected this segment, right? Click here and then select enter to complete a segment. So you can select multiple segments. Okay, so I'm going to select one more segment. So now it's done, right? So once your M is done, you press enter and then it says that select to begin the N segment, right? This is N and this is also N, right? And now it's done. Let's press enter, right? So if you play this, now this is stitched together. So M to N works like you select all the M first, then all the N first, and then you stitch it. Where it's useful, I think, when you are doing gatherings, right? Then it is important. Then when you are doing segments gathering, then it is important. So all these places becomes really important. All the tools that are here, right? And the common tools between 2D and 3D, it means that you can apply in both the ways, right? So yeah, that's how it works. So free stitching tool, it's pretty simple. Let's do Control Z. Free stitching tool, you can just quickly stitch two segments, right, in whatever the way you want. So for example, you can select this, you can stitch from here, and then you can stitch it from uh, just hold it. You can stitch it from this side to this side, this side to this side, right? Also this. So free stitching tool is quite simple, right? Uh, Again, free stitching tool segment basically means that first you select all the M segments, second you select all the N segments, right? So that's it. So select all the M segments. I'm not doing it in 3D because in 3D it doesn't work that great. Okay, that's why I'm doing in 2D. So you select this, you have selected this. So this is all M that you're selecting, right? Then you press enter and you select all N, right? This is you're selecting all N, right? And press enter. So this stitching is done. Now you see this. So MN gives you this ability to select all the M first, all the N's, N then, and basically it will automatically adjust itself, right? After this, you have this auto sewing tool. Auto sewing is really not helpful. I can just quickly show you this. Uh, for complex garment, I have never seen this working. Okay, so let's bring the avatar. Okay, perfect. Suppose all the stitch lines are deleted, right? So what I can do is I can select this with the edit sewing tool, right? With the edit sewing tool, I can select it. I can select all the patterns. I can delete it. If I play this, all the stitching is gone, right? Now what I can do is I can do auto sewing, right? It says that top partially open, closed, right? It is closed. auto, okay. So now you see it has stitched, but some pieces are not stitched, right? So it always, like, it doesn't work that great if you take a little bit more complex design, right? So it's not going to stitch this at all. So if you suppose you take this, so it's a kind of a useless tool. I don't really like, it doesn't really help much. Okay, for simple garments it can work, but I think for complex garment and whatever the garment as a fashion designer you're making, right, it's going to be complicated, right? So I don't think anybody use this tool. Okay, next is a pin tool, right? So this is edit pin and this is pin tool. So normally what happens is CLO has this interface that they are going to give you the tool, and on top of it they are going to give you edit tool, right? So for example, button, edit button, piping, edit piping, binding, edit binding, tape, edit tape, right? So first we'll go through this edit tool, like this pin tool, and then we are going to use this edit tag tool, right? So what you can do, you can pin the fabric, and you can pin the fabric with the avatar the way we used to do it with mannequin. Okay, so quickly let's see how does that work. So suppose you want to pin this with this side, you can play this. So now you see these two are pinned together, right? So this is what pin tool does. If you hold this and you see tag on avatar, so you can also tag things on avatar. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's quickly create a fabric here, right? Let's tag it with avatar. So if you play this, so now this is tagged with the avatar. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, perfect. And I'm all now, if you want to delete that, okay, if you want to delete that pin, now you come to this edit tag tool and you can just delete this and you play this, it's perfectly fine. Okay, after this you have this fold tool. Fold tool basically gives you this ability to create folds. Okay, so what I mean by that is, suppose you have a, let's go to the modular configurator, let's go to let's avatar, let's make a new file. Okay, let's bring the avatar female. I'm quickly moving you through these all the tools because like there are so many tools. Uh, but as I said, right, once you start doing your own projects, then you really understand how things are working. Single, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Okay. All right. So now suppose your collar jacket, right? It's not, like, it's not turned properly, right? So it's somehow it is opened up like this, right? Let's play this, right? So it's not turned properly. Now you want to make it turn, right? So you can select any line and then you can basically select this green or red line and you can just make it fold properly. Okay. So this tool is used. So for example, maybe you want the collar to be like kind of not folded, right? And so what you can do is you can work around with this collar. Wait, what's this happening? Sorry, control. Let's do Control Z. And let's select this again. Yes, this is better now. Now this is straight, right? And also let's make this, oh sorry, let's select this and let's play this, right? So now you see your collars are standing. So in this way you control your folds in a garment, right? Second is, this is a really interesting tool. It is 3D fold garments. You can fold garments, right? And you can present in really interesting ways. So let's do it. Let's fold it. I'm going to delete all the patterns. Yes. And I'm going to bring my t-shirt, right? Let's fold a t-shirt. Okay. Now, before we play this, let's fold it. Let's put it down, right? And also let's rotate it kind of like this. Okay, let's play the simulation. Fold it, right? Okay, now you can just make it a little straight up, right? Or you can right click and you can just strengthen it, okay? So you can see it's better. All right, you can unstrengthen, play the simulation. Okay, now we want to fold this. Before folding this, let's go to the fold tool. And you see, right, here is this, like this is different folds, right? If you want to rotate this, right? Sorry, don't do this. If you want to rotate this, you can rotate this. If you want to turn it, you can turn it, right? If you want to reduce the particle distance, this is for reducing the particle distance. Sometimes it is helpful, like if the particles are low, right? Then, okay, why I'm explaining these tools, some of the terminology that I'm going to use, for example, particle distance, you should be knowing it. Okay. Um, all right. So now let's quickly see. This is for like if you want to spread your fabric, so you want to apply physical properties, and this is for folding. So we are going to turn this on, and then we are going to turn these two. So this is for complete fold. This is for selected fold. So what I mean by that is if you select this and if you like draw a line like this, like because you want to fold it from here, right? Now, if you turn this, this whole thing is going to turn, okay? But if you select, if you select this, only the selected piece is going to, so for example, this is the selected, right, piece. And if you draw the line, just hold it. Okay. So select this, right? Now, if you fold this, only this pattern is going to fold. So this make it for the selected pattern. This is for complete pattern, okay? All right, now let's do it. So we are going to turn this on, turn this on. Let's make a fold. And then let's move it like this, okay? And then we also have this. So let's select this, move it. Oh God. Let's select it, move it. Right, let's select this, move this. Okay, let's select everything. Let's move it up. Let's select all the patterns. Let's move it up. Let's rotate it. You can rotate it by the way from there only, okay? And you play this, right? So this is, maybe you can fold it better way, okay? Maybe I haven't done it in a better way, but this is how it works normally, okay? So this is how any fold works. All right. So you got this tool. Now let's see what this tool does. So let's bring our file again. So now the next tool is the 3D 2D arrangement, sorry, reset 2D arrangement, right? So it basically helps you to reset this 2D arrangement. So if you click on this, right, all the patterns are like arranged like this. The next tool that you see here is 3D arrangement, right? So it basically like arrange your all the patterns around the 3D. The problem here is this, that if you suppose you move this pattern like this, okay, like this, and you play the simulation, okay, suppose you did it like this. So now if you make your 3D turns, this will be down, right? So this is before you have played the simulation. The way you have arranged your pattern, it's going to save that position and it's going to bring it into that. So it doesn't necessarily arrange your pattern, okay, in 3D form. It's just before you arrange, before the simulation, before you have played the simulation, the way you have arranged your pattern, it just reflects that, okay? Perfect. Okay, now there is this another tool called reset 2D 3D arrangement. This is really useless. I haven't got the results. Like, it's a useless tool. I have never got any results from this, okay? So I don't use this tool. You avoid using this tool. uh, okay, perfect. Let's now look into the next tool. So this is a good tool. So suppose let's bring a trouser, okay? So now look, this trouser is not fitted properly to the avatar. So the normally way we do it, like we move it, like we do it this all, right? And then we are going to play the simulation, okay? But the better way of doing it is something like this, that you turn it on, right? You click on this, right? Redrape 3D arrangement, right? So once you click on this, it's going to redrape it. Beautiful tool. So it's a good tool. You can use it every time, right? You can use it with any kind of a garment and it always works. So this is a really nice tool. After this, you have high resolution, low resolution, and custom resolution for rendering. So if you do a high resolution, the particle distance, add-on thickness, all these things change so that your garment fall in a better way, right? And here in the simulation, the fitting property turns on, right? Accurate fabric, right? So that's what happens if you do high resolution. If you do a low resolution, things are very much fast on the 3D panel. You can move your fabric, you can drape your fabric in a quick way, but the drape is not that great. So there is a trade-off. If it's a high resolution thing, then everything is going to be very slow here, and that's fine. All right, next tool is tape, right? So as I said before, we go to the edit tape measurement. Let's first look into this basic circumference, all these measurements, right? So basically, as you can see, basic circumference measurement is going to measure your circumference, right? And you can just do a 3-click button and you can just get a circumference, right? So you can find this measurement, everything, right? So you can do first click, second click, and then third click here, and you can find this kind of a measurement, okay? Next is you can find base tape measurement, surface tape measurement. Surface tape, let me explain you one other tool. What is the difference between surface tape and base tape? Okay, because there is this linear tape and height measurement, all this. So base tape and surface tape means this. Okay, so if you go to the base tape measurement, you see from here to here, and let's go to the surface, it's going to calculate the surface. Okay, what I mean by that is you will see here quickly. Correct. So now if you see this, right, it's not calculating the surface area behind the bust, right? Under the bust, sorry. And then you see this, this is completely on the surface. Okay, so that's the two different things. And then height measurements and height measurement for avatar, right? So you can, like, if you turn this on, it's a really simple tool, right? Nothing complex, right? So you can just quickly just create a height segment, right? So you can calculate the height, double click, single click and double click. That's how it works, okay? And then height measurements of the avatar, right? So it basically, it will fix one end to the bottom, and then you can just quickly like calculate the heights and different things. Next tool is you have linear measurement and circumference measurement, okay? So these tools are for garments, okay? So let's bring this file. Perfect. So now let's first look into the linear measurement. So you can actually do a simple, let me show you a basic pan. That would be much better actually. Okay, so let's use this tool to drape. Perfect. And let's use this now. So as you can see, this is for very simple measurements, right? So what's the height? And then second measurement of avatar, you can circumference based measurement. So you can take the waist measurement like this, right? So all these measurements you can take. So length and circumference measurements of a garment. Now the next tool is the motion tool. So motion tool is always used when you have given some motion to the avatar. So let's bring our dress. Let's see how the motion tool is used. So you go to the avatar, you go to female, you go to motion, you can apply any motion file. Okay. Right. So this is your motion file. And if you click on hit on this play icon, it's going to play the simulation. So that's what this motion is used for. And you can, again, you can just pause this, right? So very simple. Let's do Control Z. And now let's look into the next tool. So next tool is pen tool, right? And you can draw things over your designs, right? So this is a really helpful tool when you are doing pattern making, because it directly helps you to understand how, like, to draw anything on top of a pattern, 3D pattern, and then translate that to a 2D patterns, okay? And this is super helpful, very helpful. So if you right click on this, and you can do trace as internal shape, right? So can you see, like, now you have this internal shape here, and which is such an important tool. Okay, so this is and you can, this tool is for making, right? And as I said, Cloak basically gives you two tools. One is for the actual tool, other is to edit that tool, right? So if you click on this edit tool, then you can just edit this and you can delete this. Also, you can edit the points. Okay, 3D base pan, right? So what you can do with a 3D base pan is you can create something, you can draw something. So you have to hold your like left mouse button, okay, to do this. So you hold this, you create something, and it will be reflected in the your patterns. Next tool is the pen tool, right? Avatar pen tool, right? So in the same way, the way we have used the 3D pen garment tool, in the same way, this is the avatar tool, and you can just quickly create something interesting, and you can just move it here. Like, you can create a tattoo or something like that. Just joking. So you can create something, okay, interesting. That, look, all these tools, as I said, right? Again, I'm repeating myself that before you use any tool, it's important to understand Let me just turn on the videos first. So before you use any tool, I think it's really important for you guys to understand that what kind of a project you are doing, right? What kind of a skill set that project needs, right? And then based on that, you need to use the tool. So if you're just having fun around with this, you don't need all these tools, right? But if you're really diving into pattern making and you really want to be very technically correct and then you want to use all these tools, then it makes more sense. So uh, my idea behind doing this is so that like you understand all the tools and then you start working on your projects, and based on that, you whenever you are in doubt, you can just quickly jump and you can just look into the which of the tools I have used and how to use those tools. Okay, just to help you guys, that's it. But please don't focus on projects, because that's where the learning comes. All right, let's keep going. So the next tool is the texture tool, right? So if you apply any texture, right? So let's apply a texture first. Um, okay, let's quickly apply fashion. Let's apply a texture. I am trying to figure out a texture. Suppose this is a texture, okay? This is one of the image that we did. Okay, so if you want to scale it down or scale it up, that's why you do it. So, okay, you can press here, you can scale it down, you can scale it up. Because all these, this is just one fabric, okay? That's why all the fabric is getting like zoomed in, zoomed out. Suppose you have another fabric like fabric one, okay? And it has a different texture. Suppose it has this texture, okay? And suppose let's apply it here. So now you can individually control this, okay? And you will see like this fabric only controls like this. It doesn't control this. But so the main fabric, like if you are zooming in, zooming out, and in the top, this is for rotating, okay? And this is for scaling in XY direction, X and Y direction. This is for uniform scale. So this is how you have to create different fabrics, and then you have to apply this, okay? Let's go to the garment back. Let's go back to the file and okay, perfect. Now next tool is, and you can, next tool is the graphic tool. So this is edit graphic. This is how to apply graphics. So if you select this, you can select any pattern. You can select this, you can drop it here, you can press OK. Good to go. And then you can select this edit tool just to scale it down or scale it up, okay? So you can from here. So from here you can scale it, like you can move it, you can apply all these things, right? So all these small that the notches that you see, right, it basically helps you to like scale it uniformly, and then this is for rotation, okay? So this is how you can apply this, and I can just move it like this. Okay, perfect. So this is how you use graphic tool. The next is the buttons, okay? So let's use that tool. Let's delete the graphic first. Select the graphics and press delete. Done. So now the graphic tool. Sorry, now the button tool. So this is edit button and buttonhole, and this is button. So there is button and buttonholes, right? So let me do one thing quickly. Let me delete the stitching from here. Let's delete it. Okay. Now let's apply some buttons here. So you can, to apply the buttons, you can simply click here, buttons, buttons. Before you apply a button, it's important to understand that you mark things properly, right? So normally what we do, we create internal lines. Uh, like we create internal lines, and then we mark these internal lines on a certain points, right? And then where there we used to put the buttons, because the distance between every button should be precise. Okay, so this is how you put buttons. And again, the second step is how do you put buttons holes. So this is how you put button holes, right? You one here, and one here. Okay, perfect. The next tool is, and if you want to edit something, you can go to edit and you can edit it. The next tool is how do you fasten the buttons, right? So what you can do, you can select all these buttons, right? And you can just drag it towards here. And as you can see, now your buttons are done. Sometimes your buttons will go inside the pattern. So for that, what you have to do, go to the edit buttons, select the buttons, right? And just move it out. Select the buttons, just move it out, right? And also here again, select the button, just move it out and just play it. So this is better. So now this is completely closed. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. Okay, next is how do you apply a zipper. Let's delete the buttons. Uh, let's bring the file again. I'm not saving anything, okay? So every time I'm getting the file, the same file again. Okay. Okay, so I can delete this, right? Let's go. Let's edit stitching, delete. By the way, the same tool is here, edit stitching, right? You can open this up. Now let's apply a zipper here. Okay. So to apply a zipper, uh, single click and double click, single click and double click, right? As you can see now, if you play this, so now you have a zipper here. Now the problem with the zipper is, as you can see, from the top, this is not opened up, right? So normally whenever we apply zipper, some width we have to leave some width, okay? So let me quickly show you how to leave that width, okay? I am editing the stitching, but this is the wrong way, okay? This is not the right way. Uh, Technically right, this is not the right way, but that's fine for the time being. So now you see like there is this opening here, right? And which is really important because width takes some, zipper takes some amount of width from the top. So now you can apply zipper in a better way. So single click and this double click and single click and then let's go down, double click, right? So this is done. Let's play the simulation. So now you see that your zipper is way much more better. Okay, it has taken that width. So this is how you apply a zipper. Okay, next, let's jump into the next piece. All right, next is piping. Okay, so let's delete the zipper. So again, you can select the zipper. And okay, one more thing. You can hold your zipper and you can move it down. Okay, so you can hold this. I just hold it. Let me see. Let's stop the simulation first. Okay, hold your zipper. Let's go to the selection tool. Hold your zipper and move it down. Yes. So now you see that you have this opening. Okay. So you can control your zipper, but you can also select your zippers and you can delete it. Now let's apply piping. So this is edit piping. This is piping. So piping is very simple. Single click and go down, go down, go down and double click. Perfect. This looks nice. And you have this really nice piping here. Okay, in the same way you have binding. For binding, you have to be closed. You have to completely close the circumference, right? So select here, select here, select here, and select here, and it's going to happen. Perfect. So this is binding. You can go to the edit binding, right? And you can control the binding in a way much more better way from here. Okay. Okay, perfect. The next tool is this is called I think this turn your fabric, okay? This press your fabric, but it also wherever the sewing line is present, it basically turn your sewing line. We don't normally use it much, but when we use it, we directly change the sewing line. So for example, if you want to change the sewing line property to turned, right? So we just directly do it from here, okay? So if you select your like this, right? This pattern particularly, it's not going to apply here, right? So you can simply basically like, okay, let me quickly show it to you. Okay. Suppose this is your fabric, right? Let's right click, layer clone under. Let's do. Let's again click on this. Where is clone? Okay, I can't see that. Okay, it will be in the 2D layer clone under. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So now you have this here, right? So this is layered. Now suppose I stretch this fabric a little bit, right? I'm going to delete the avatar. Okay, just hold it. It should be, yeah. So suppose if I apply this, so it's going to just turn, like, can you see, like, it is taking the shape of the pattern that is below, right? So all the curves and everything, right? So this is what it does. Okay. It takes the shape. Also, it changes the sewing line, right? Of all this pattern to turned, right? If you have selected that. Okay, perfect. So all the tools in three toolbar is used. Now let's also look into some of the tools that is present here in the inside the three toolbar. So all the tools that are present inside the 3D toolbar is called, these are all the visual tools. Okay, so all these tools, those are present here. They control visual aspect of your 3D window. So suppose if we click on this first, right, it's going to render it's going to render, make a quality render, right, out of this, right? So, but it takes some amount of energy also. So turn it off, right? Then you can later turn it on. And this tool here, basically it is a schematic rendering of your, and so that you can see the silhouettes in a better way. Okay, so this is for this getting your silhouette kind of in a right order. Now, next is, for example, this is for the 3D garment, right? You can hide the garment and you can hide the blue lines, you can hide the red lines. So if suppose there is this red line, right? Let's see, correct. If there is this blue line, right? Let's see this. Yeah. So it's going to hide these red lines and this blue lines. Okay. Sorry, blue lines. It's also going to hide the seams. It's also going to hide the pins and all these things, right? So these tools are used for this particular purpose. Now, next is you can hide the buttons, you can hide the different kinds of puckering, right? Trims and all these things. Next is avatar. You can hide the avatar. You can bring the this like arrangement point. So what this arrangement point do is, suppose you have a piece of a fabric like this. Okay, now you want to arrange this around the arm, right? And it's very hard to arrange anything on the circumference in CLO. So you select the pattern, right? And then you click on some dot, right? And it's going to arrange itself based on that. So it becomes really simple. So if you have a waistband and anything like that, so this is the tool that you will go forward with. The third tool is basically it's a volumetric tool, right? Not used much, right? But what you can do is you can change this, right? So you can change all these values, right? So if we bring some avatar in which we want to tell, okay, there is this, there is the hand, there is the ankle, there is the knees, and all these things, then we can arrange all these points here, right? But this is not very useful tool. Okay, next is you see this is called a bone tool, right? So you have this different bones and you can arrange it. So sometime if you're not happy with the way avatar is standing, let me hide this tool, right? So what you can do, you can hold this tool, right? And then you can rotate it, right? And suppose maybe you want to just move the leg a little bit like this, right? And you want to move the hand a little bit like this, right? And so this is how you can do it. You can change the avatar position like this. Okay, so this is a really interesting tool. Next is for the measurement, right? You can turn on the measurement so the measurements are visible to you. And the next is that you can show 3D pen, like whatever you have created, you can just show those 3D pen here directly. Okay, perfect. So this is how you make, this is how you use this avatar tool. Next is a fabric tool. So this is, the first tool is thick textured surface, right? Sorry, thin textured surface. And in this surface, basically you can't see the thickness of a fabric. So how do you like turn it on? Why do you need thickness in a fabric? So suppose you have a fabric and the color of the fabric is different from front and back. Okay, so suppose you have this main fabric in which the color is kind of red from the top. Sorry, red from the top, right? And the bottom, like it's something different, right? So let's do back, turn it off, and back you have this white. No, you have this color. Okay, done. So now sometimes what happens is that you also have different thickness on the fabric, right? So let's change the thickness to 2 millimeters, right? But you are not able to see the thickness here. So the problem is because the thickness of the textured fabric is not turned on. So when you once you select the turn on the thickness, now you can see the thickness in the fabric. Okay, and it's a really important tool when you are rendering it, because Whenever a fabric gets folded, it gets a different kinds of thickness, and this is a part of finishing process. Okay, so this is how you do thickness. Delete. Okay, next tool is called the mono. So this is going to convert your fabric into white, everything, right? No colors, nothing, monochromatic, right? In the same way, like you can just quickly explore, right? This is going to turn your fabric into translucent surface. This is going to turn into mesh, right? And this is going to convert into like thick texture surface, but back, right? And this is going to convert it into a random color surface, right? So that you can see it like this, all the patterns and everything, right? Perfect. So let's convert this into this and let's go forward. Now this is some of to test some of the garment fit maps. Okay. So this is going to show you the surface, right? Stretch, right? And this is going to show you the strain map. This is going to show you the fit map. And finally, just hold on. Yeah. So this is going to show you like wherever you have ample amount of like the pressure that is applied. Okay, so what happens is this, that these pressure points actually creates like sometimes it's really important to understand where the pressure points are, and just to see that when you are doing pattern making, how it's getting implemented into an avatar or an body. But again, guys, let me emphasize on this, that human body is not like the body that you see in avatar, right? Because it's a very stiff kind of a body, but mostly we have muscles which change the shape based on the pressure applied, right? So you have to take that into consideration. So this is not the exact prediction. Okay, also. So let's turn it off. Let's turn it off. This is finally for the avatar, monochromatic and mesh shape of the avatar. You can try. And this is lastly, this is for understanding the world around the avatar, right? So for, you can turn off the mesh, you can turn it on, you can apply this 2D mesh, you can hide, right, the shadow, you can turn on the wind, like you can also turn on the lights where the lights is coming from. Okay, so this is how it's done. Perfect. Now the next thing. Now let's come to the 2D toolbar. Let's go to the library, garments. Okay, now let's come to the 2D toolbars, and quickly we are going to hide everything. Let's see. So the first tool is selection tool. You can select objects. Second tool, you have multiple tools. So this is for edit patterns. So you can select this and you can edit patterns. Okay. So you can edit patterns like this. Third tool is, sorry, in this second is transformation point slash segment, right? So suppose you have a fabric here. Let's create a fabric, right? And now let's click on this. So what you can do is you can select a line and you can transform this line, okay? So if you double click on this pump point and you drag it right to this bottom, so it's going to change the pivot point. So when you, so now if you change, sorry, double click on this and drag it and move it here, right? And now if you rotate this, so you can see, right, it's rotating at this pivot point, so it's helpful in that sense. Okay, the third tool is called a curve point. So you can add different curves point, you can move it like this, then you can move it on the top, right? Interesting tool. After this you have edit curvature, so you can edit a curvature of a line. After that you have smooth curve, so you can click on this and you can drag it, right, to uh, make a smooth curve. An add point and split line, so you can add a point, you can right click and exactly precisely define. By the way, all these things that you're doing here, this can be done very precisely in a pattern making. Okay, and that's where I think that's where you should look into the pattern making assignments from our course. Okay, that's going to help you more. Then let's quickly delete this. Then we have a fullness tool, right? Fullness tool. So let's first create this. Let's bring a garment. Then only I can show you how the fullness tool is used. Okay. Let's bring a basic torso. Look, basic torso is really important because it really maintain the current size. Sorry. Now you can use this tool again, right? Just to fit this properly. Okay. So suppose you have this garment and now we are going to apply some fullness to this. Okay. So first thing is you can use the edit tool that we just learned, and you can just move it down, right? And you can move it down. By the way, you can do it really precisely, like just some inches, right? And now let's cut it from here, cut, right? So now let's give some fullness. So the first fullness tool, basically you can add some fullness here, right? And you can, by the way, you can be very precise, like you can just move it by 5. And you can also like move it from here to here, right? So this is how you can just quickly give some fullness. Oh, just hold on, okay? I think I did not. So this is how you should do it. So you should cut and sew this, okay? Because if it's going to cut, it's also going to sew this pattern. So the fullness tool, simple, single click and then move it, right? Sim Fullness tool. Second is fullness line, right? So what you do in this is you select a line. Sorry, you first select this and you select this, and then you select this and you select this. Let's select the bottom first, and let's select this second, right? And it says that how much do you want, just change this, right? So look, you're moving this, okay? So if you play this now, okay, and all right, so now you have added some fullness in the front. In the same way, you can add fullness. So this tool that you see here, this is used for single click and just increase this value, right? And then just do okay. So this tool is particularly used for adding fullness based on two lines, okay? So that's how you use it. A simple variation of this can be this, okay? So this is a small rectangle, right? Now you go to this fullness tool, single click, single click, and then single click and single click, right? Then you just increase this value, right? So as you can see here, and if you do okay, so now you have added some fullness in the bottom. So this is how it works. Okay, the next tool is creating simple fabric, right? Or creating a simple pattern. So you can create a rectangle, you can create a ellipse, right? If you press shift, you can create a circle, and you can create a spiral. So whatever you feel like. All these tools, by the way, is it fits well if you're doing pattern making. Otherwise, you are not going to use all these tools. The next tool is for internal lines and polygons. So this is really important tool. So you can be as creative as you can, right? You can create shapes. Again, when you are making patterns, you need to create all these shapes so that you can cut your patterns according to that, and that's how it helps. Next is you can just create some lines, right? Just support lines so that you can see how your patterns are coming, and you can create something interesting. So based on those shapes, you can decide where to put like notches or points. Next tool is called trace tool. Okay, so this is basically like if you have created up something inside this pattern, right? Suppose you have created a simple shape, right? Like this, and double click. So you maybe you want to trace this, right? So you can select this line, you can select this, select this, select this, select this, single click, and I am pressing shift, okay? And then right click and trace as pattern. So you see you have traced your pattern out. This is how you use trace tool. Next tool is called notch. Okay, so this is edit notch. Okay, so what you can do is you can create notches like this, right? And notches are important because when you are stitching your pattern, it really helps. It also helps your pattern to match, right? So this is how you use notch patterns. Now this tool here that you see, it's called seam allowance, right? So what it does, it basically adds seams to your allowance, right? So because when you want to stitch your patterns, you want to allow some seams, right? So it helps you to allow the seams. Next pattern that you see here is called wrap walk pattern. Okay, so let me show you how walk pattern works. Okay, I'm going to just bring the t-shirt. Okay, let's play this. The better option is like this, you can click on this. Okay, it fits better. Okay, now walk patterns basically helps you to, if you select this, right? If you kind of select this, then this, so it is going to walk your pattern like this. Can you see, like these two things are completely getting moved based on this, and you can create a notch, right? So you click on this and you press enter, it's going to create a notch. You click here, and you press enter, right? So it's done. So can you see, let's see again, single click, move it, right? And right click on this and do stationary pattern, right? And then you can see you have a notch here. Now let's press enter. So you see you get a notch here, right? So this helps you to understand and move pattern around a different pattern. Now the next tool that you see here is called point of measure. Okay. So you can basically, suppose you want to add this into your POM, right? So you can select this line and you can select this line, or you can select this and just hold on, select this and select this, right? So now you have this line and you can see this, the point of measure in your POM is written here, right? So you can create these different lines that is going to be the part of your POM. Okay, next is, and you can edit these lines, right? You can select this, edit this line. Next is the annotation tool. So you can write something, right? You can do annotation, and then with this edit tool, you can just move this annotation anywhere you want. After this, you have this tool called pleat tool, right? So how to use, let's see. Uh, Before making the pleat, I'm going to create an internal line, single click and double click, press Z, right click, cut and sew. So you have this pattern here with you, right? Now let's just increase the length of this. First, let's delete this point and let's increase the length of this, right? Also, let's edit the stitching because otherwise there will be gatherings, right? So I'm just going to reduce the stitching. So let's play this. Perfect. So now let's create some pleats, okay? So for creating some pleats, just go from here to the bottom, double click, single click, and okay, select the sides of the pleats. Let me show you again. Single click, and then select the sides of the pleat. So this is the side where we want to make it. I have a better way of making the pleat, but it's the easiest way, okay? And sometime when we are doing pattern making, it is not the best way of doing it. Sometime a manual control is way much more better. Okay, so number of pleats, maybe I want number of pleats to be 10, right? And I want 0.7, right? Or 0.1. Okay, sorry, it's gone. Single click, select the side. Okay, I want 5 pleats and I want it to be 0.5. Okay, and I want it to be, everything looks fine. Okay, let's press OK. So now you see your pattern is done. So we are going to just reset the 2D arrangements. Okay, so that, and we are going to strengthen this. Because why do we do strengthening? Because once we do strengthening, it will become a little like the folds will become better. Okay, so once you play this, so now you see that you have pleats. Now you can just make it back to this, right? So now you have nice 5 pleats, okay, that you're done. So this is a very simple way of making the pleats. Sometimes it's not the best way, okay? The way I have covered it in my course is a very different way of making the pleats, and it is a more kind of a control way of making the pleats also. Okay, so let's look into the next tool. So the next tool is edit grading. So this is all the tools this is related to grading, and I will suggest you that grading is a very technical subject, and it is not just how to use this tool. There are so many fundamentals behind grading. So I am not going to cover the grading for the time being, because grading you don't do anything. You just click on this and then you click on the pattern. It's easy. But understanding grading is different, right? So you can go to the pattern making assignment in the course and you can just find it there. Okay. Then next is auto grading. So again, it try to auto grade your pattern. What I mean by that is, suppose you have a okay, let's select this t-shirt. Okay, save as, nope. Okay, okay, so you have this t-shirt, right? And then you can change the avatar size. Avatar editor, let's make it 38, let's make it 40, right? So now you see the avatar size is changed. Now how do you like fix this pattern, right? Because this pattern is not going to fit. So what you can do is you can just create on auto grading, right? And it's going to auto grade this pattern. Okay, so now you can see it has auto graded this pattern for you. Okay, the way it has auto graded is not right. I don't like this at all. This is not how we grade our patterns. Okay, but again, this is what the software decided, and everybody has, as I said, right, grading is a technical topic, right? Okay. Now let's move on to the next part. This is edit sewing. So again, it's the same tool which what we did here. Segment sewing is again the same tool that we did here. Free sewing, right, is again the same tool which we did here. So all the tools you know. This is for understanding, this is for inspecting the sewing. Okay, so some point your sewing lines, if the ratio difference is like 10% or the length difference is 0.97, so it's going to show you in red. Okay, so all these red lines that you see, there is a difference between where the stitching is happening. So what I mean by that is, let's quickly look into that. uh, let's select the rectangle. Suppose this is the one segment, this is the second line, right? If I stitch these two segments, it's going to be in red in color. Can you see? Because the difference is high. But suppose if this is equal to this, right? How to make I, so let's control C and control V this, right? Now let's stitch this. So now this will not be red. Okay, as you can see, this is not red right now. But as soon as I change the length of this will become red. Okay, so that's what it shows you. Okay, the next tool that you will see here is called this iron tool, right? It basically like either shrink your fabric or expands your fabric, right? So either you can shrink your fabric or you can like expand your fabric. So how do it works? Let's close this. Suppose this is, let's play the simulation. Like this is your sleeve, right? So if you kind of play this, sorry, if you, this is your sleeve. This, if you kind of apply this, right? As you can see, it's shrinking, right? And if you increase the value, if you apply it, it's expanding, right? So this is what this tool does. Sometimes when you are making your patterns, you want to adjust it from the waist and something like that. So you can apply this and just reduce the hardness. Okay, just reduce this value and reduce this value also. So it will be in a really nice way. Okay, the next tool here that you see is it's seam tape. Okay, so what seam tape does is, let's bring our design back because this is getting really bad in shape. Okay, perfect. So let's look into what seam tape does. Okay, so seam tape basically helps you to secure the seams, right? So because your garment, when you play the simulation, right, your garment falls, right? So this basically helps you to prevent that gravity effect, right? So it makes the particles intact, right? So it doesn't change the shape. So to maintain the shape of some area, we use seam tapes. The next is, again, we have done it. It's a fabric texture tool, edit texture tool. This is a graphic tool. This is the same tool. Next tool is edit top stitch, right? So you can apply different kinds of top stitch, and it is again, it is the part of uh, finishing process. Okay, and if you don't know, let me explain. Uh, let me explain that there are three. There are three different. Sorry, there are four steps of making 3D. The first step is called modeling, in which you take your basic shape and convert that basic shape into a desired shape. Second is called finishing, in which you are applying trims, buttons, zippers, and everything. Third is called texturing, where you are applying fabrics and all. And finally, it's called rendering, right? So these are all the different processes which you have to do. Okay, now let's apply a top stitch here. So you will see, right, that you have a really nice top stitch, and this is a part of finishing. Okay, and you can apply it like free stitching and all these things. Simple. Next thing is, let's bring our shirt again, play the simulation, right? Okay, so the next thing is, it's called puckering, right? So you can apply puckering. It's again seam puckering or free puckering, segment puckering or free puckering, right? So you can apply it here, right? So you see again, this is a finishing process. Okay, let me emphasize on this again, that puckering is not a feature, it's a defect which comes, right? So don't apply it everywhere. Apply it where the fabric thickness is there, where, for example, if you're making a denim, right? The denim inseams, there are more probability of getting this puckering effect, right? So apply there. Versus applying it on like everywhere, right? Don't apply it everywhere, okay? Not helpful. Next is that you have this layering. Okay, so before I teach you layering, let's create some pattern. So this is, I'm creating the shape here, right? This is the shape. And then I am going to select the shape, right click and copy as, let's see, do we have clone as pattern, right? So this is the option clone as pattern. And I can just quickly stitch this, right? This with this, and this with this, this with this, and this with this. I should have done it with the free stitching, but that's fine. Again, right click and I can do superimpose over. So it's going to automatically superimpose it like this. Okay, let's play the simulation. Now with this tool, what you can do is you can basically layer. You can tell, okay, this pattern, what is the relationship between this pattern and this pattern? So is it over this pattern? Plus means this is going to come on the top. Minus means this is going to go inside, right? So now you can see that your this particular pattern is inside this. So if you change this value, now it's going to come out, right? So in, out, in, out. Okay, so you can establish the relationship between different patterns. Now, finally, you have this one tool. For this, I'm going to delete the avatar. I'm also going to delete all the patterns. And let's create a simple, small, like this. And like this is huge. Let's make it smaller. Like this, right click, layer clone under, right? And let's open property editor because it's going to be useful here. So let's, if you click on this, sorry, let's delete this, not needed. Okay, just simple pattern. Let's select this, click on this. It's going to copy a pattern here, right? Now weight, you can change it by 5 and you can quilling distance, you can make it by 10. Okay, what happened? Okay, something, I don't know what happened, but something happened. Okay, so let's make the weight to be 5 and quilling with 10. Ooh, there is some problem that is happening. Let's make it 10. Okay, so now let's play the simulation. So can you see you have a nice pillow? So for making a puff jacket and all these things, this really helps. And if you reduce this, if you make it 1, so you will see like this will become a little bit more light, right? So this is how you can make pillows and you can just give some kind of a volume to uh, any shape. Okay, that's how this tool is used. Perfect. So now we have used all the major tools, right? All the 2D and 3D tools. Last thing, okay, how all these things, these are visual things, okay? And they control visual property of a fabric. So let's see how that is. So if you quickly go here, you see here, so this is for controlling the stitch lines, top stitch, all these things, okay? In the fabric section, you have here to control baseline, to control seam allowance and all these things in your pattern, right? Third is if you want to show the measurements, like you can turn it on. If you want to show the pattern name, you can turn it on. If you want to show the grain lines, you can turn it on. If you want to show the measurement. So all these things you can see, right? There's nothing really interesting about it. So just see how it works. This is again, this fabric tool is same as this, which we discussed. So again, the same tools. And this is 2D pattern lock, right? If you want to lock some of the patterns from the 2D, right? So then you can use this tools to help you that. Okay, perfect. So this is how you use 2D and 3D window. All the tools are done. Now let's quickly jump into, now let's look into the 5 like different libraries, right? Library history, 5 different tabs of CLO: library history, modular configurator, object browser, and property or editor. So library, all the assets are stored here, garment, avatar. And if you want to see where the files are located, so what you can quickly do is you can go here, you can jump here. So now you see user, and this is where my file is saved, right? So now this is quickly, all the assets are here. You can bring all your assets from here. Whenever you bring an asset from here, all the objects will be listed here. So if you bring a fabric, the fabric, buttons, and everything is listed here, right? And in property editor, whenever you select any object, all the properties will be listed in the property editor. So let me quickly give you a glimpse of it. Suppose I add a button. Okay, suppose I add a button. This is my button I have added, right? So now this is where, because I have bring one object, right? Now the object is listed in the object browser. So I can select this, right? And I can change its properties. So maybe I can change the shape of it, right? And I can change all its properties from here. Okay. So this is for changing everything, width and everything. I can make it 2, right? I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. All these properties will be listed here. Now, next is, suppose I want to change this button, right? So I need to go to this edit button. I need to select this button. So now it's going to give me this option in prop theater that, okay, which button do you want to select? So I can add multiple buttons here. And if I select this again, so now you see I can choose from 2 buttons now. Okay. So this is how it works. Like this is how the correlation of library, object browser, and prop theater is created. Perfect. So, and in the top that you see here, the menu bar, I think all the tools that is there is completely the replication of these tools, right? So all the tools that you see here is completely the replication of these tools that you see here. Okay. One more thing, if you want to edit the avatar, you have avatar and you can edit the avatar, right? Avatar and edit avatar. If you want to change some of the settings from your of your CLO, you can go to settings and user settings. And then in the user setting, you can see view controls. You can change the measurement, right? So you go to user interface, you can change the measurement from here. You can change the 2D and 3D, everything about like 2D and 3D window, right? User interface you can change, right? You can change how this toolbar is appears here. So it's, do you want it into the top? Like if you say 3D toolbar is left, you can make it in the top, right? And if you close this, now it's in the top, right? So you can change all these settings about your CLO from here. And if anything's happened wrong, just click on this refresh icon in the bottom. Okay, it's going to refresh everything. So guys, this is every tool in CLO 3D. But again, as I said, that do projects so that you can connect all the tools with your understanding of your tools with the projects. That's a better way of learning the tools. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Enjoy life, and we'll see each other. If you have joined the course, we'll see each other on every Sunday, right? We'll be doing some interesting projects. Do check out learn3dfashion.com, and any updates you will be getting directly in the course directory. Take care. Bye bye. Enjoy life.